Hello, welcome to Buzzin' with Cousin Talk. I'm your host, Cousin Johnny. Before I invite our special guest, I'd like to thank the community, you, for during these tough times, volunteering, donating food, giving rides, entertaining us. I really thank you so much for what everybody does in this beautiful community that we live in. We're so lucky, and we got some great people here. And before, I'd like to introduce our guests now. Okay, let's go for it. Please let me introduce the CEO and creator of the fun organization, the Paper Wing Theater Group. Please welcome Koly McBride.
Hi, how are you?
Koly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm like to thank you and your organization for what you've been doing during this pandemic. I know you've been helping out, so we really appreciate it, and that's really great. Koly, where did you grow up, and how did you end up in Monterey?
Well, I was born in Washington State near Seattle, and I lived in the Pacific Northwest until I was about 12, and then my family moved down to Los Angeles, which is really where I got going in theater and performing. And so I went to school in Los Angeles, and I came to the Monterey area at the end of 1993. I moved up here with a friend, and it was only supposed to be for like a year, and then I ended up really enjoying the area, and so I got a job and finished school, and here I am.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what's for somebody that doesn't know, what's the Paper Wing? What is it?
Paper Wing Theater is it's a community theater that's just recently evolved into being dinner and a show theater. So we basically are your neighborhood community theater company. We've been going strong since 2001. We started in Salinas at the Fox Theater in Salinas, and then we moved to Monterey to our 320 Hoffman address, which is where we kind of got a foothold and got a little traction, and people kind of began to see what we could do and what we could offer to the community. And so we just recently moved. The building was sold. The 320 Hoffman building was sold, and they basically wanted to turn the upstairs where we were into apartments. So we had to swiftly look for another place. We started looking in September, and we signed a lease with the Cannery Row Company in January. And so we were all set to basically continue meanwhile, we were supposed to stay at 320 Hoffman until May and do our last two shows there. And then we were going to quickly switch over to our space at 711 Cannery Row and start our dinner theater, but COVID had other plans. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So how did it start? Was it just like on a cocktail napkin over some drink? Decided to do it.
I had worked with community theater companies in Southern California, and specifically I was a production assistant for the original Renaissance Fair company called Living History Center. They are the ones that originated it with with Phyllis Patterson, and they started in Agoura, and when they moved to San Bernardino, I got involved, and so I mostly worked production, but that was just basically spring and summer. And then a group of us from the performers from the Renaissance Fair were like, we want the same feeling. So, let's look at starting a theater company. And so that's basically how Paper Wing Theater was born. It was just a group of actors, and we just wanted something to do. And so we took on all these little projects, and the name comes from the fact that you really never know how far a project's going to take you. You kind of have a tendency to either romanticize a project and you think it's going to be huge and wonderful, and then it kind of just tanks out, kind of like a paper airplane. If you don't, you can fold it the same way every time. And so, and then little projects that we were kind of like, oh, well, this might be fun. We started doing that. And then those were the projects that were really big. And so I was thinking, it's just like a paper airplane. You just really never know how far it's going to fly until you're totally invested in the project. And
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how we got our name. It was just kind of a, you just kind of never know what the projects that you're going to take on. And we did a lot of projects. We kind of got into dinner and a show. We worked with some bed and breakfasts that were in the Inland Empire area, which is like the San Bernardino area and Rancho Cucamonga and all that kind of stuff. And so we ended up, we did a handful of projects, and then I got this opportunity to move. And so I kind of backburnered it for a little while, for about 7 to 8 years. And then I was really missing theater. I had done some other projects. I became a drama teacher. I worked at Watsonville High School for 2 years in the 90s. And then once I had my son, though, I really wanted to do theater, and I wanted to work with people, but I wanted more flexibility in my schedule. So my ex-husband at the time, we're still very good friends, and I always credit him for this. He was like, why don't you just start your own theater company? And so as it happened, the Fox Theater was looking for some kind of an organization to come in and sort of help them spearhead their restoration project. So I got involved with that in 2001, and we started by doing maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 shows a year. And then we just kept going, and we just started adding more shows. And then we took about 2006, we kind of decided we wanted to do that the whole community theater and the college theater circuit was really overloaded with, standard shows and the same kind of stuff over and over again. So that's when we kind of decided to we started to get a little edgier with it. And we had done the Rocky Horror Show, and that's not considered terribly edgy these days, but back then it was kind of edgy. And so we just started to do more things that you would see in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And I think that's really where we got our foothold on what we wanted to be. And so now we just do a little bit of everything. We do shows that are definitely for the over 18 crowd. And then we do, little kids projects and family favorites and things like that. And so we just kind of, our whole tagline is theater for everyone. So we try to find a place for everybody. And so that's kind of how we got our how we got going with everything. And so we're still here. So that's good.
Well, you were on Lighthouse there for what, 21 years?
No, we moved in 2007. So we were there roughly 13 years.
Oh, that's roughly great.
Yeah, but we liked the building, but it was an aging building. It had a lot of problems. So it was kind of like, and we had been selling out. It was limited seating. We really could only do like 90 people. Yeah. And we were looking for a place we could expand. We wanted to, we were selling out pretty consistently. And so rather than trying to force more performances, we thought, well, why don't we just see if we can get a bigger space? And then we'd been renting a storage space with the Cannery Row Company in their American Tin Cannery
okay, got it.
area. So I had a good relationship with the landlords, and they called me up one day and they said, hey, would you like to look at a few of these spaces? And so I just kind of went on a tour with them, and we looked in Seaside. We looked in Seaside. We met with the economic development director there, and he was really excited to maybe have us there in Seaside. But it just became more and more obvious that there was this great space in the 7-Eleven building, which is the iconic red Cannery Row Company building. Right. And so I really liked that. It also put us right in the middle of all the foot traffic. That's one of the busiest intersections, Prescott and Cannery Row. And we thought, okay, that's going to be good. The numbers projected looked really good. We did a lot of research as to, there's a lot of things we had going in our favor, which is there's no dinner and a show really anywhere in our county. There's an occasional, I do know that like sometimes the stagehands in South County put together a dinner and a show, but it was really nothing consistent that was known to be a dinner theater house. And our goal has always been to do, to do good theater and have great food. And that way, and we already knew we could do good theater. And my fiance is incredibly talented in the kitchen. He worked for years as a chef before he got involved in theater with me. And he was like, yeah, I think we could make this work. And so when we saw this space that had this kitchen attached to it,
Right.
It was just a natural kind of progression.
Yeah, I remember back in the years ago, I worked at Sly's, and they had the restaurant up there, Captain's Galley, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Captain's.
There's a lot of history. There's a lot of history in this space, and we really like that history, and our whole motivation has been to make sure that we honor that space. So right now we're doing a lot of basic kind of cosmetic remodeling. We're pulling down. They covered up all of the cannery walls, and the beams were covered up, and the beautiful ceilings were covered up. And so we're really just kind of pulling back years of like other restaurants coming in there and making it our own space right now. So it's been really kind of fun, and we're getting a lot of our decor inspiration from the cannery and the time period. And so that's been a lot of fun. It's definitely, having COVID, it's definitely, we're chomping the bit to just show everybody what we can do. And so
it's going to be
our main focus right now, is just like, can we get it, what does our future hold? I have to say the Cannery Row Company has been really excellent with us, and they really have proven to us over and over again that they see our value as a business, and they really want us to stay. And so they've made it very, very good for us to stay there. And so we're just doing what everybody else is doing, which is kind of step by step, and trying to do these smaller projects to keep us afloat, keep us relevant, keep us in front of everybody, at least via social media. So we're getting ready to do the Rocky Horror Show on November 14th. We're going to live stream a concert.
Oh, that's really great.
An outdoor concert, yes. And so we'll have a handful of people in the audience, socially distanced. These are handpicked, friends of ours, and they're going to come, and we're going to give it a go live. But I think it's fun and it's exciting. Great. The actors have been excited about it, so I'm excited.
Now, that show you do every year, don't you? Or
we do, and we usually do a terrifically long run. So we've done up to 9 weeks with that show before, right? We've kind of settled into 4 to 6 weeks, and we usually have multiple casts because it's kind of an exhausting show for performers. It's really high energy, and having the audience interact with us has made it so. It's just so, we had 4 casts last year, and we sold out almost every show. So to go from that to what we're doing now is just like this incredible life shock. It's not just that we have to stay closed, but there's so limited options of what we can do.
I really like your location. I mean, it just is great. I mean, I was driving by on my bike a couple weeks ago, and I knew that you guys were there, and I looked up, and it's going to be great.
It is.
Not only do you got local people that follow you, you're going to get tourists that are walking down the street and say, let's watch a live show. There's nothing like live theater.
Yeah, it's interesting. People from the area, because we do a little bit of outdoor dining. Right now we're closed because we're really trying to focus on the remodel as much as we can, and we figure there's less tourist traffic right now. It's a good time to do it. But in the summer, I mean, we could have sold ticket after ticket after ticket. People were like, oh, can we come in and see a show? And they're walking by, and they see our signage.
Yeah.
And so they're immediately excited. So just based on that energy alone, and the fact that, again, there's nothing like this anywhere. I was in Washington, D.C. last Christmas, and we kind of explored around the Virginia area, their types of dinner and shows. And I've seen dinner and a show like in Las Vegas, and, where they do like a murder mystery dinner theater. And it's even if the show is really good, which is most of the time is pretty entertaining, the food is just not good. It's kind of banquet style. You get this feeling that it's kind of being served out of a hotel pan and right onto your plate. And it's the same like chicken, fish, vegetarian. You get the options. You don't really get to do that. So we're kind of taking that concept, and we are really looking forward to making the meal theatrical as well. The actual food, making it tie into the show, or and just making it really delicious. I don't like to eat, I love to eat, but I really love to eat good food. So yeah, so we've
on the same
yeah. We like to we prepare food that we would want to eat if we were ordering it. And so, the one thing I'll say about having to be closed right now as a theater is that it's really given us an opportunity to suss out our kitchen and to come up with a menu that everybody likes. And so far, our fish and chips is like a huge hit. We do clam chowder in a bowl. We do the usual fare, but then we do a little bit different. Like we're doing we're honoring the space because deep fried artichokes have been a thing on Cannery Row, and now there's really no one that does it. And so we brought that back, and that's been really popular. And just kind of specials and fun stuff, and just like, do people like this? Do they like that? And our fried chicken is like, it's so good, and people are really.
I saw a photo of it. I want to try it. I saw a nice photo of it. It was great.
Yeah.
What I like is that the mural you have outside of the cannery workers. Outside.
Oh yeah.
That is cool. That is really realistic and
yeah.
Cannery Row. Live theater on Cannery Row. That's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. How the seats going to configure? Is it, you're going to have like regular seating and then some tables for dinner, or how's that going to work?
We're actually going to do mostly table and chair seating, where we're going to have some options for people who don't want to buy the full meal and a show. If they just want to come see the show, we will have some overflow seating that will be able to do that. It's kind of designed to where the whole concept was immersive theater, that we had really, especially with shows like Rocky or any of our variety burlesque shows, we always try to include the audience. And so that was really important to me. So the stage is kind of like our Hoffman stage, which was, it's a floor stage, and then the audience is sitting up. So we're kind of doing the same thing, but we're with tables and chairs, and that what that allows us to do is it allows us to let's say we're not sold out, it allows us to kind of space the chairs and tables, so it always kind of feels like it's a full house even when not every seat is sold. And that was that was important to us for like our Thursday and Sunday shows, which don't tend to sell out right away. Now, so that's kind of how the seating.
Your actors are they always pretty much the same, or do you get students or from MPC or Hartnell?
We all, here's a little secret. Here's a little secret in the locally community theater. We're constantly using the same actors that work at Pack Rep come and work for me and work at MPC, or they work at Western Stage. And so we all share kind of the same pool of, I'd say close to like 300 to 400 actors, revolving, of course. So I mean, I've worked with people who've worked in all the theaters, and so it's basically, and there's always new faces. People are always coming and going here, partially because of the military or because of the schools, like the DLI or the language schools. So it's, we constantly, it changes. We do, the only time that we ever really like kind of stick with the same cast is for, standbys like Rocky Horror, or if we do, I actually have a group of like variety burlesque performers that really only participate in the burlesque shows, and we try to do 2 of those a year with a theme, and that's pretty fun too, because it's not just, it's usually like a really fun, sexy, silly show, and that's really popular for us. And that's particularly our Star Wars parody burlesque shows are pretty popular. People come in costume and they take pictures, and it's just really about giving everybody the experience. We're phasing out, I hope, in our world of becoming, collectors of things. This generation, I'll say one thing for the millennials, they really, really know what they want. And it isn't inheriting a bunch of antiques and lugging them from town to town. And so it became very clear to us, about 2010, 2000 to 2012, that people weren't just looking for something to buy. They wanted an experience to participate in. And I feel like our theater in particular kind of fits right into that. And we're giving them, what they want, which is the memory of a good time and pictures and an opportunity to support us and to, I feel like we're very good to our audiences. We really, really try to give them a really good time. And I think that that's a pretty good model for us. We do shows that have a fourth wall where, you're kind of a fly on the wall, but most of our shows, our most popular shows are when the audience really feels like they're part of it. And that was such a huge point for me in choosing this space, because I could see the vision when I saw it. I saw the tables, I saw the playing space, I saw how the beer and wine bar is going to be directly behind everybody. And
I haven't
it
seen
just seems to work out there.
But I've been in there before and I know where everything is. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
For you. Rose Russo's on. She says Paper Wing rocks. Rose.
Yeah. She's a huge fan. She's part of the family. She's a huge fan.
She's watching right now. And so once everything gets going, what do you have planned? Do you have like musicals, children's programs, dramas, or you have all?
We're gonna try to do a little sort of, I hate to call it repertory theater because that means things playing at the same time, but we're gonna try to do sort of like an afternoon offering that's more family friendly. That would be like a lunch, early dinner, like on the weekends, like 2 p.m. or something. And I feel like we're going to catch a lot of that tourist traffic. It's like, hey, where are we going to have lunch? Oh, wait, look, we could see a show while we're doing it. And then in the evenings, do our stuff that's a little more adult appropriate. And then Sunday mornings, we want to do jazz brunches, and we want to do drag queen bingo brunches and have sort of a theme. And do like bottomless mimosas and stuff like that, and really kind of get that whole, and the characters will be very present while people are eating, and just kind of the experience of everything. There's a lot of really, there's some places in Los Angeles that are really, really finding their niche with this, and it's the brunch crowd is going to be really important to us. And then, and then maybe on like Wednesdays and Thursdays, we'll do something a little bit more focused for locals. We talked to Ryan Rico, who's one of our karaoke buddies. He's expressed some interest in possibly hosting a karaoke or trivia night, in which case we'll do like more minimal kitchen stuff. And so there's just lots of options, and it's really fun to get excited and talk about. But again, we're kind of our wings, excuse the pun, our wings are kind of pinned right now because we just can't do that much. So we're kind of experimenting with like themed dinners where the servers are dressed up, and we did one for Halloween and we sold out, so that was good. But we can only have like 22 people in the space that we have outside. We did participate in the encroachment program that the city was offering, which means that you can take your business outside, and there it's free for businesses if they can. You just submit a drawing and say, I want to put 5 tables here, 6 tables here, and they've been really great too. The city of Monterey is like super supportive. That was just one of the things. It just everybody was so excited to have us there and to do that, because it's so rooted in what our county's, our county is literally, inhabited with artists and performers and musicians. And it's so important for me to give all of those performers and musicians and actors a place to be. And so it's kind of hard right now because I can't. So I really kind of, I vacillate between being like, we're doomed, and being like, what, there's hope. And so I've chosen to be more zen about the whole thing and just kind of be like, whenever we can, we'll be ready.
There's definitely be hope. I mean, it's the writing's on the wall. It's going to be great. I mean, there's going to be nothing like it in town, and you're going to get a lot of
I
support
agree.
from locals.
I think so. I mean, I love, the biggest thing about COVID for us was that not only did we lose, the ability to be a theater, but we also, I mean, we had since I think it was 2015, I created a program for MPUSD, our district, called ACT, which stands for After School Children's Theater. And we had worked our way to be in like 15 schools a year. And we bring to them, and, I have a staff of teachers and instructors, and we bring to them an after school theater experience to some of our schools that just don't have the funding
Really,
for doing this kind of stuff. And so we were up to 15 a year. And so we were right in the middle of our busiest time when this happened, because we do a certain amount of schools in the first part of the year, and then the second part of the year we're like performance. In fact, everything came down on a performance day for these kids. And so we were doing Willy Wonka at I think it was Delray Woods.
oh, that's a great
And
show.
we got the call on the day. The principal called me and she said, we can't assemble. There's no way we can do this. And so we had to tell, the principal had to tell the families and the kids that had been working so hard for 6 weeks that we just couldn't do the show.
Maybe we can do a rain check, do it after.
Yeah. I mean, they did get a little chance to perform. We do like teaser concerts for the school, and sometimes the parents come during the day, but it really wasn't the same thing. The full costumes weren't there. And then likewise with we were supposed to open Cabaret, and it was a fully done show. We had just sat through all of the producer previews, the lighting, everything was put together.
Wow.
And 3 days out from that, we had to pull it. And that was devastating. That really, it just, and I'm hearing
that's
other theaters in the area, the same feeling.
Yeah. What about Koly, about funding? How do you fund? Do you have fundraisers?
We do. We have always we have going a GoFundMe account that supports us. And in the beginning, we got a lot from that. I mean, we were doing little like house concerts. I'm lucky to live with my adult children, and all 3 of my children are musicians and performers. And my fiance is a performer. And so we did like, and there's 7 of us here in the house. So I have a big house in South County, and everybody came home for COVID. And so I just kind of started utilizing everybody. We did like sock puppet Rocky Horror, and we did some improv shows, which were really fun. And we did some just some fun, silly stuff, just because we were bored in the house, and it was kind of fun. And that generated some income. And then, the restaurant, when we were able to do outside performing, I had sort of created a small stage outside with our tables, and everything was socially distanced, and everybody was in a mask, and the performers were all in masks. And then the county pulled the plug on all of that. So for those 3 weekends that I was able to do that, it was really obvious that we could survive if we were able to do that. So the county coming in and saying, you can't even have one guitar player masked and 10 feet away from everybody, I don't agree with it. But I have no voice at this point. And that's really hard for a loudmouth like me to realize that, no matter what I do or say, it isn't making a difference. And so that's been the hardest thing. But to answer your question, we get a lot of support from our donors. We are, there's other, like, I'm continuing to teach online a little bit, and so that's able to kind of fund us. But literally the theater itself is it's in this little like stalemate. So there's not a lot the theater itself can do to raise money.
Can you go on the website and donate? Is that how someone?
Yes, you can definitely go on the website and donate to our GoFundMe. That's an amazing help to us. All that money goes right back into the project that we're doing. What I've had to do is we had, on paper, I had like 2 times the amount I needed for startup costs for this. And we had budgeted out, and everything was down to the penny. And then, of course, with COVID, we've now had to use some of that startup to just kind of stay alive. And that's been the roughest part. So supplementing, and, we have a few donors who are super generous, and they don't want to see us fail. So we've been able to kind of capitalize on that. We've also, there's been a lot of, the gentleman that's doing our commercial construction, his company, he's donated a lot of his time just because he knows that we're in dire straits. Same thing with like the plumber, and everybody's like trying to work together. And I think that's definitely part of the reason to stay so positive, is because everybody, we're all in the same boat, and everybody wants to help where they can.
He wants to help everybody out, and
yeah.
To an end. I think the sky's the limit in the whole Monterey Peninsula.
I think so. It's the Renaissance happened for a reason. We were coming out of the last, scraps of the Dark Ages, and then it was, it really, for such a long time, any kind of art that wasn't specifically representing God was forbidden. And, speaking to European theater history, that really started to change when the Tudors took the throne, and they were like, we like to have music, and we like to have dancing, and we like to have theater. And that's when you see the surgence of Marlowe and Shakespeare and everybody kind of coming up, and there's this explosion of creativity. And I really think it's not unlike that now. I really think there's going to be a huge explosion of activity and creativity and projects. And I mean, I'm here for all of it. I mean, we don't just have to exclusively be a theater. So
I'm looking forward to it. I really am. And I can't wait to come in and see a show. Koly, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate you visiting cousin today. And
thank you.
Telling us about the Paper Wing Theater Supper Club. And it's going to be a great thing, and I really appreciate you coming on. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was great. We'll have to do it again.
Definitely.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, that was Koly McBride from the Paper Wing Theater Supper Club. Where can you go in Monterey, watch a live show, live theater, and have dinner? It's going to be great. And once this pandemic comes to a close, it's going to be a great, great place. It was great. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Next show is going to be a week from today at noon. Going to be an hour early. And the guests are going to be the owners of Tutto Bono. So we'll see you next week. And let's keep the arts alive. Maybe, donate, to the Paper Wing. I mean, they're great people. They like to have fun. And they work hard. So let's do it. Also, before I leave, I want to say that please exercise your right to place a vote. Tomorrow is voting day, so place a vote. I'd like to say goodbye to everybody. Take care, and thanks for buzzing with Cousin. Bye.